Hi everyone. I haven't gone live in this place in a long time, but shout out to all of you who are checking out my shorts. Um, I do kind of like sports comedy shorts, but I wanted to talk about Charles Barkley while I get ready for class. Some of you guys don't know I'm in school right now, so that's gonna be part of my time, but I'm gonna try to go live with you um, at least more than once a week. So let's talk about the situation with Charles Barkley saying on do they call it Inside the NBA still? I don't know. Charles Barkley saying that Nico Harrison is not to blame for the situation with Luka. And as you guys know, he's been fired. And I think a lot of Mavs fans or even some NBA fans have been saying that he should have been fired a long time ago. We'll get back to that because I have a question like, why wasn't he fired a long time ago? If we believe that it's his fault, I'd like to hear from you guys your theories on that. I'll share some of mine. But you know, Charles Barkley said something interesting that made me sit down and think. And I'm gonna be honest up front. I'm gonna agree with Charles Barkley um, from the way he positioned this. So what Charles really said was that Nico does not have the power to trade Luka. And I sat in that for a bit and realized that he is actually right. Everybody has a boss except an owner. And although we kind of like to believe that people that are like managers don't have to answer to the owner, they actually really do. And so I don't find that it's like really not off the wall that he would have to approve this thing by his boss, which would ultimately be either the owners or someone else in the organization. But Nico Harrison is an employee. I mean, he doesn't have the stake in the team to do moves without clearing it with someone that's above him. Someone cuts his checks. Uh and we think that everyone or some people don't have bosses, but and Nico Harrison would we be the one that we thought wouldn't have a boss, but I believe he has a boss. And so if we go with the notion that most people have bosses unless they are owners, someone looked at what he said and said okay before he did it. um any decision in the business has to go through a series of, I guess, approvals or steps. And just from where I've been working, if I want to approve something, there's kind of like three departments. There's uh legal, the legal department has to approve it, the finance department has to approve it, and the marketing part has to approve it. Now, I don't suppose that without checking in with at least two of the three, but most likely three of the three, you don't move the best player on the team. You have to because it affects all their jobs. Like if you were in marketing and you have a Luka Doncic on your team and you have to sell seats to the arena, you're selling using that Luka's going to be there. So another department can't just move Luka and then come back to you and tell you, "Hey, you got to market this without Luka because your whole plan of getting people to buy seats is around Luka." And if you work on only commission, like some of these salespeople are, you won't hit the goals that you set out with your company to hit because you don't have that star player to be there to pull in the customers. So I do believe there were multiple people from different groups that knew or approved of it, or if not multiple, the owner at minimum had to have sat with Nico, discussed this, and felt like, yes, let's move forward. Their owners are business savvy, so I've been seeing stuff online that Nico fooled them because they are inexperienced in the NBA and fooled the Mavs into getting rid of Luka, and no such thing. These owners, you don't have to be an NBA like genius or even a fan to be able to run it as a business. The numbers match Luka's performance. The feedback from your customers matches Luka's performance. So they didn't have to know that Luka was great in person or be a basketball genius to know that Luka was the best player on the team and the player that brought in most of their revenue. Right? So with that said, I believe that there might be other reasons why Luka was traded. Um, there was no rush or need to rush to trade him. He was injured when he was traded. So um, I know there was like something about his extension, or they didn't want to give him his extension or something like that. But as far as blaming Nico wholly for this situation, I don't think it's fair at all. And unfortunately, what's happening here in social media is that it takes too much to think, right? It's like, oh, look, his job is to pick players and trade players. He picked him and he traded him, and that's what happened. But it's a little bit more complicated than that, especially if it's your cash cow. Like, in order for that trade, let's say Nico was the one who pitched Anthony Davis for Luka on his own. He would have to submit financial evidence. And when I say financial evidence, I mean like he would have to give them like spreadsheets that show that Anthony Davis's brand is strong enough to match the brand that Luka has and bring in the same amount of like customers when it comes to season ticket sales and things like that. He would have to submit documentation in order for that to go through. So if it's your belief that it's all his fault, you believe that he put together that documentation. If he has time to do that, then yes, it's all his fault. Because not only did he put together documentation that I don't even think ever could ever happen. Like, there's no way he said Anthony Davis's brand is just as strong as Luka Doncic's brand, and if we trade them 1-to-1, that you won't see a drop in revenue and a drop in support. There's no way I believe that Nico totally said that or believed it. So what we need to do is find out what really happened. What I suspect is we'll never know what happened, because when you work with the business world, some things are left behind closed doors. So we'll forever think that this was just a dumb move. We'll forever not know what really happened unless somebody lets the cat out the bag in a 30 for 30. Someone gets dementia 20 years down the line and talks about it and spills the beans. Who knows? But for the immediate future, we will never know. Anyway, this was my first time streaming here in a long time. Thank you for the guys that dropped in. Let me know what you think and whether or not it's all him. All right, peace.